Hey guys, welcome back to Vince-Vell Customs. We're going to start off a video series of the ProtoTypeZ Blanka kit, and I wanted to do this kit of a step-by-step because it gives everybody an idea of something a little bit different compared to the Ryu and the Sagats, because it's a little different. So at this point now, what I like to do is I prime up all my pieces first. You know, I clean it up, make sure it's all washed up. I get it primed, and so I like to make sure everything's primed so I can get all the areas and everything with each piece. The next step is I'm going to drill up all my holes and make up my pins so this way I can start piecing them all together. But before I do that, I'm going to fine tune the pieces, get any flashing off, any excess resin pieces, anything that might be messed up I'll fix before I start piecing it together, so this way everything's pretty much smooth. But the main thing about this prep video is I'm going to come back and I'm going to show how to get all the webbing out of these fingers without messing up the fingers. So you got to use a Dremel tool, X-Acto knives, but you don't want to go too crazy where you destroy the fingers. And the reason why they did this is because when you make your molds, if you don't, you know, with these type of fingers, they might be shipping out to people and then you got to worry about damaging. So it's kind of like, I don't know if every kit's going to come like this, but mine came like this, which is fine. It doesn't bother me. I'm used to it, so it's kind of easy to take out all that webbing. So, like I said, when we'll come back, I should pretty much have all the holes drilled, pins, and we'll work on the fingers, and I'll give everybody an idea of what kind of tools to use and how to go about it. So with that being said, we'll be back and we'll get him put together. Alright guys, so for the Blanka kit, I basically drilled up all my holes, got everything all set up, and as I was looking over the kit, I was realizing that if anyone is first to kit building, make sure you see how to put it together. So with the Blanka kit, you might make a mistake if you try to attach the body before you attach the arms, because the arms actually kind of won't really go in flush. You know, it won't go in at all with the body. So you want to put the arms on first, and then once the arms are on the body, it'll go into the body much easier, as you can see. So that's kind of what you want to do first at this kit, and then afterwards the legs will go on easier and everything like that. So arms are pretty much the important thing, and that's what you want to do first. So basically I pretty much have the holes drilled up, got my glue and everything ready, and I already cut my pins to go into each arm. So I'm going to do a little bit of a fast video and get that in there. But just to give you an idea, the way I drill up the body, as you can see, I'm going to be putting, I won't put a pin here, but I'll put a pin here and here, and probably one in here. But I might drill up a little bit more just so the magic scope kind of goes around and connects everything, and then when I push it in, it's all like connecting. So I want to make sure everything's solid in one piece. So I got a little bit more drilling to do under the body and stuff when it attaches, but first step is getting the arms in. So I want to get the arms in first and make sure when I'm putting it into the body, it's all going nice and even and everything's working out. So that's the first step. So we'll be right back and we'll do a little fast video of getting the arms in. Alright guys, so as you saw, basically I got it all together and he fits in there nice and even now. There is a little bit of gaps and stuff that need to be filled. I have to see how I'm going to go about that and how it's all going to work out. I want to make sure I get everything nice and flush. Now I find it's easier probably to paint them all as one piece than to actually try to paint them and glue them together. It's just the way I like to work, and it's just how I work. There's going to be a little bit of a masking involved, but that's fine. I'd rather do the masking than paint it, and then try to glue it together and then try to fill up all the seams afterwards. I'd rather have it all one solid piece. and it shouldn't really be that bad to masking. This isn't as bad as some of the things I've worked on in the past, so it may look bad, but it's not, because you figure the body's all green and the pants are a different color, and then you're pretty much got to do the hairs and everything, which are fine. So that's where I'm at right now. We'll come back as the next step once I figure out what the next step. Probably putting in the legs, but I'm going to have to patch up everything first, get some seams, make sure everything's secured under here and stuff, and just to make sure, yeah, everything going pretty good. So it'll attach pretty well. So that's pretty much, you know, I think the biggest problem, just making sure you get the arms in first, because you don't want to run into that issue. So we'll be back after we do some more tips on them. Alright guys, so for Blanka, I got the legs on, so I decided to put the legs on first and set this up in the base. Right now, after some tweaking and working, I was going to put pins in here, but there was not enough resin to go up there for the, you know, the pin. I would actually have to make this much deeper, and it just wasn't working out, so I decided to put some strong magnets here, and I'll put some strong magnets in the base and see how that works out once I get the body on. If there's any kind of a problem, what I'll have to do is I'll have to take the magnets out and make these pieces come down thicker with some magic sculpt. But I think the magnets in there will work out pretty good. So that's where I'm at the moment with the feet and the legs. As for the body, got the arms on. I you know, filled out all the lines, looking pretty good. Don't have to worry about too much in here and everything, because a lot of it will be hitting from when he's on the legs. But as for the head, I put the head on, I drilled my hole, and I'm going to fill in a little bit up in the back in here and fill in a little around there, because it would be very hard to get a paintbrush in there and not look right. So it's better to kind of fill it in a little bit, like it, you know, one whole casting. And of course we have a seam going across here. Now the seam was actually really bad here, so what I did is I drilled here and I drilled in here and around. So I'm going to put my, you know, A's going around the neck, around in here and all there. Sort of just like how I did it around here with all the edges. As you can see, all the A's that went around to make it nice and flush and even. So this way it looks better than having a gap. And it's easier to paint that way as well. So that's where I'm at. So what I'll do is I'll fill in some A's around the neck and everything. Come back, attach them to the body. And then see how it works out the base and everything, and go from there. The last step will be putting the hands on to show how I get out that webbing from the hands, but I just wanted to go a little bit about the body and get that all together first. It's easier that way. Decided to put the legs on first and set this up in the base. Right now, after some tweaking and working, I was going to put pins in here, but there was not enough resin to go up there for the, you know, the pin. I would actually have to make this much deeper, and it just wasn't working out, so I decided to put some strong magnets here, and I'll put some strong magnets in the base and see how that works out once I get the body on. If there's any kind of a problem, what I'll have to do is I'll have to take the magnets out and make these pieces come down thicker with some magic sculpt. But I think the magnets in there will work out pretty good. So that's where I'm at the moment with the feet and the legs. As for the body, got the arms on. I you know, filled out all the lines, looking pretty good. Don't have to worry about too much in here and everything, because a lot of it will be hitting from when he's on the legs. But as for the head, I put the head on, I drilled my hole, and I'm going to fill in a little bit up in the back in here and fill in a little around there, because it would be very hard to get a paintbrush in there and not look right. So it's better to kind of fill it in a little bit, like it, you know, one whole casting. And of course we have a seam going across here. Now the seam was actually really bad here, so what I did is I drilled here and I drilled in here and around. So I'm going to put my, you know, A's going around the neck, around in here and all there. Sort of just like how I did it around here with all the edges. As you can see, all the A's that went around to make it nice and flush and even. So this way it looks better than having a gap. And it's easier to paint that way as well. So that's where I'm at. So what I'll do is I'll fill in some A's around the neck and everything. Come back, attach them to the body. And then see how it works out the base and everything, and go from there. The last step will be putting the hands on to show how I get out that webbing from the hands, but I just wanted to go a little bit about the body and get that all together first. It's easier that way. Okay guys, so at this point I want to take the webbing out of the hands. Now, there's a couple ways you can do it. If you're comfortable enough just taking an X-Acto knife and going in there scoring it, you're pretty much set to go. Now, I probably will do that, but what I like to do is get some of it's thin, some of it's thick. I like to get the thicker areas out first, because if you try to score it the way it is now, you wind up trying to cut in and you don't have enough to kind of chop it off. So, you have these two, you have a lot of different Dremel tools out there. You got ones that are thicker pieces, and then ones that are thinner tips. So I have a bunch of variations of these. So what I'll probably do is, I'm going to take this, and what I'll do is I'll go in here like this. Take off the thicker part, and then what I'll do is I'll switch up to the thinner one and try to get in here a little bit more and go around the edges and stuff. But I figure once I get a lot of it out and messy, the goal is not to actually get this part close to the fingers, chopping up the fingers. You want to make sure you're getting most of it, but you're leaving a little bit of excess. And then after that, you can either use sandpaper, sand it down, use your X-Acto knife, kind of scrape it off a little bit and go from there. So instead of me showing the whole video of going through each one, just giving you the idea of some tools to use that make your life easier. Because if you have a big drill bit and you're trying to get in there, it just makes life harder. So you just kind of want to start going in. So if we can just give you an idea with the X-Acto knife a bit. So you have a little bit of an excess here, right? So you kind of just slowly just kind of scrape away. You don't want to go too crazy of taking it off. And if you have a little bit of an excess there, that's fine, because then what you do is you get your sandpapers. Then you have you know, you can have some sanding tools that like this, and you can go over here and you can just start sanding that down a little bit. And then you pretty much just start taking all that off, and then you're keeping the finger sculpt there. You want to take your time doing it, because if you start drilling into the finger and then you start making problems in the finger, then you got to start resculpting that and fixing that up. So if you take your time getting all this excess out, it makes life easier. So that's pretty much the next step of taking out all that stuff. So I'll probably do up these, come back, and show you how it looks, and we get these attached to the figure. Okay, so at this point I got Blanka pretty much put together. I worked out a lot of the seams and getting the body. Had a little bit of an issue when I glued the back here. I was kind of messed up, and since my thumb isn't quite yet, I was holding him. Then I went to go try to get the Insta-Set, the glue, and then I pretty much glued all my finger together with it all over here messed up. But the seam back here is not a problem, because I'm going to patch all this up and everything and take off some of the glue. But just to get you an idea, I put them all together. He's in there pretty tight. He's one solid piece. I'll start fixing up some seams and everything. So what I decided to do, after a lot of working and stuff, I came up with the idea. He sets in the base pretty well. Not a problem. So what I did is I put a magnet in here, and I put a magnet in here, and then I filled it up and I sanded it down, and I made sure it sit. Then I drilled holes in here, and there's two magnets in there. So basically when you put them in, he sets in pretty well now. So no problems with him moving or coming out. He's magnetized to the base, and it works out pretty well. So we'll go finish up the hands, get the hands attached, and just start going from there. Alright guys, so here's Blanka all done, put together. Just a couple more fine-tuning areas here and there, and I'll get them all finished up. The only thing you have to do, the last step, is when you get this electric stuff onto the base, you got to make sure that when you do it, it's not going to be hitting his hands or the legs. Because you don't want to put the stuff on the base and then try to put them in, and all of a sudden you're like, why isn't it working? You want to make sure that you get it even. So at the moment it's not flush yet. I'm still actually fine-tuning that area. But once I get in the base and everything, I think it'll work out pretty good. But as you can see, he goes in and out of the base with the magnets, no problem. So hopefully the video helped you out, guys, and we'll see you next time.